First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize. Not in the sense that I work for Riot and am directly responsible for what happened with Nunu, but in the sense that you'd feel the need to apologize if you're approached by a frog-hating alien from the planet Xemba who's just landed in France. This is honestly ridiculous. I feel ridiculated. Now I know how it was for Fire when I told him I'd gotten him a great Christmas present and ended up getting him this shirt. If you've ever played jungle, you'll know just how much of an insufferable sod Nunu is to play versus. He's one of the few champions that straight from Champ Select you just know you're going to have much less fun in that game. He's a kleptomanic knob who happens to also be obnoxiously tanky. He's someone whose core win condition revolves around burying you in as much shite as he can. And now he's the best jungler in the game. What was Riot thinking, really? And more importantly, why were they thinking it? Riot, buddy, I got some questions for you.
Wait a minute. No, wait. Can we just stick to the issue at hand?
Oh, you almost had me. But you cannot.
Buff an already potent steroid with 40% bonus ability power.
Any child knows that.
Let's quickly take a look at some statistics. Before 8.2, Nunu was sitting at around a 47% win rate in Korea. In fact, according to Lawlytics.com, in the week leading up to this patch, he was even dipping as low as 38% win rate. And now he's a statistical best jungler in every major region and NA, sitting at around 50% win rate. This is an absurd jump in performance, unheard of really. And probably the scariest thing about it is that this is comboed with an overnight spike in play rate by over tenfold. So basically everyone and their nans has picked up Nunu, so this huge spike in win rate isn't even being achieved by a select few diehard Nunu mains. It's not like there was a major outbreak in the dickhead asylum. You could chop off your arms and kick ass on this guy right now, which is ironic because playing versus this guy makes me want to chop off my scrotum. This brings us back to my original questions. What were Riot thinking with this buff, and why the bloody hell were they thinking it? So let's start with the first one, the what. The lower down of the buffs are that Nunu's Consume, which currently gives him a stacking minutes-long buff to his health and out-of-combat move speed, also now gives him bonus on-hit damage. But of course, the real slayer here is that his W now also grants 40% bonus AP to his target and himself. Almost 5 grand worth of stats with 1W, legit. Riot didn't actually give any specific reasoning for this buff, they just up and did it. It seems as though with his Consume buff they wanted to up Nunu's dueling power and his clear speeds outside of his Consume. Admittedly, this is an area where Nunu is pretty weak, outside just going into Hulk and Red Smite. But my personal issue with this is that, in my opinion, this is a weakness that Nunu really should have. He's already the king of nipping in your jungle and taking things under your nose while being insanely tanky. I shouldn't have to also worry about being slapped about by that furry knobhead while I try and chase him off. Likewise, I feel like his clear speed should heavily be tied to his Q and not his autos. His strategy for gaining an advantage over the enemy jungler should lie in his nabbing of their camps, not his ability to traditionally outfarm them. Funnily enough, Riot released a pretty quick hotfix to Nunu after this patch. They reduced this bonus on hit damage, which is fine, but laughably left the next thing untouched. His W, the Blood Boil. Oh boy. So yeah, Blood Boil now gives his target and himself 40% bonus ability power alongside the already existing attack speed. I think the craziest thing about this for me, outside of it being a thing at all, is that the AP doesn't actually scale. It's 40% at rank 1. What does change, however, is how much AP that 40% can be, so it's cap, from 40 at rank 1 to 140 at max rank. So basically you don't even have to max it first and it's still good. Legitimately, at rank 1 you're not even going to hit that cap until your teammate has 100 ability power, which is pretty much way outside the early game really. And by the time you reach level 10, you're already capping out at 80 bonus AP from your W, assuming you got 5 points in your Consume, which oftentimes isn't even necessary either. Now that's just... it's just crazy. And the thing is, despite traditional mages not building, Wits End, Hurricane, Stack, Shiv every game, the attack speed itself is actually pretty good on a lot of mages. Even outside the obvious auto attack mages like Azir, Kayle or Diana, on who this new Blood Boil is Absolutely ridiculously nutty. What about the mages with on-hit synergies, or even those that simply weave auto attacks into their combo? You know, people like Orianna, Ziggs, Corki, even someone like Kassadin. Chucking a handful of Ginzu's Rage Blades AD carry, you know, like Kog'Maw and Varus, and this list just keeps on growing. Yeah, the new Blood Bowl is good, and it's good on more people than you think it is. It's like Nunu is that emo kid in a school full of preppies. Riot wants Nunu to offer things to a wider variety of team comps while still fitting in with his overall theme of sticking a buff on a carry. Or at least I think that's what Riot was getting at. I mean, I don't really know what they were getting at, but yeah. So that brings us to our second question of why were Riot thinking about any of this? Why was Nunu even on their radar at all? I mean, fine, you know, he's kind of bad, spruce up some of his numbers and wait for his rework. Riot really should know by now that Nunu meta is worst meta. Heck, it happened before in Season 3 when Nunu was so good that Riot had to literally alter a jungle mechanic to nerf him to keep Nunu in check. In fact, history would suggest that Nunu is so in need of being kept in check that you may as well exile him to Central Europe. And of course, I've already moaned about how irritating it is to play versus Nunu, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only jungle main with that opinion. Riot's recognize he's in a bad state as a champion and that he needs a rework, so why give this current iteration of him the opportunity to whip his willy out and cause mayhem? It just makes very little sense to me. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not just making this video because I really hate Nunu. I mean, I do, but that's not why I'm making this video. It's just that if you want to buff Nunu, buff Nunu. But this is not how you should buff Nunu. And yeah, I think I'm done ranting for today though, guys. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you liked it. Thumbs up if you did. Subscribe for more of the League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and all that lovely business. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in my next video.